This is Dormouse03, and this is Chapter 5 of my Max Payne 3 Old School walkthrough. And this is the first part of this chapter. I'll probably split this into about 3 videos just because it's pretty long, a pretty long chapter, made slightly longer by me kind of walking around looking for things. So mostly I was looking for painkillers and not items to pick up, because I think I found most of the item collectible things on this chapter. And that's not what I was doing this playthrough for, so yeah, I spend a fair amount of time from here on in the rest of these chapters looking for painkillers, kind of looking through the environment. And I'm not exactly sure how the system works. Apparently there's some dynamic things that it does that adjusts to how you're playing, and so based on how well you're doing or how many times you die or something, how many painkillers you have on you, it will provide more or less or more or fewer painkillers in the environment. So I don't know about that. I mean, they seem to be in the same places that I found them in my first playthrough, but maybe I don't know. So I don't know how that works exactly. But anyway, so I just make it a point to look through and try to find as many as you can, because they do help you out a lot. So right here you can shoot these yellow blocks that are holding this truck and knock those guys off. And apparently if you can do it without them seeing you, it doesn't alert the other people that come in, but I didn't know this at the time that I recorded this playthrough, and so I just killed them. And I forgot that those guys came out, and so I got a little surprised by them. Took a little damage there, but it'll be okay. We'll get through. There are plenty of painkillers scattered throughout these environments, and pretty much the way, aside from sort of knowing what you're doing and being able to put the target onto the enemies and pull the trigger efficiently, the way that you get through this mode is kind of just by knowing what you're going to be up against and sort of trying to conserve your painkillers until the sections that you know are going to be tough. And so there were some times when I was going through this where, especially towards the end of the game, not necessarily on this chapter, but toward the end of the game, where and this is pause. So this I forgot where I was supposed to go. Brain fart. But anyway, it was through that door. Okay, continuing what I was saying before. Yeah, towards the end, sometimes sometimes if I got damaged a little too much, or more than I wanted, more than my liking, I would just let the enemies kill me and start the checkpoint over. And that seemed to work pretty well, because, you know, you learn from your mistakes that you made the first time, or, you know, sometimes you don't necessarily make a mistake, you just get screwed a little bit by the AI. So, anyway, what that effectively does is it resets your health. So if you had been damaged before you died, it resets that health back to full, and gives you another shot at going through that section without taking as much damage or having to use as many painkillers. So, especially in sections toward the end of the game, sometimes I would do that just so I could conserve my resources for the parts that I knew were going to be challenging and that I knew I was going to need them. So, somewhere up ahead. I have finished, at this point, I have finished my entire playthrough on Old School, and so it's pretty doable. I mean, I found that, I actually felt like, when I played it on hard, it was more difficult. And I think that probably was just because I was still figuring out what I was doing, the mechanics of the game. I hadn't quite got everything down, and of course, you know, the first time you play through a game, it's not going to be a perfect run, you know, unless the thing's pretty easy. Just because you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what's coming up, and once you sort of learn those things, you can have a much easier time, and I think that was part of why it wasn't as challenging. I mean, it was challenging the last few levels, but not as much as I thought it might be, and I thought a guy was going to come around here and rush me, but he didn't. So we'll just take care of these guys. And I picked up, I believe, a shotgun. Yeah. So, I don't use the shotguns too often, but occasionally when you get to a section like this where you're going through a bunch of tight corners, and it's kind of a linear little segment, and I know that there weren't too many enemies in this little part right here before you get to the next open area, I will use the shotguns because they're just so powerful. I mean, yeah, it's just got a lot of stopping power. And you can hit them pretty much anywhere in their body, and if you're anywhere close to them, it usually kills them one shot, sometimes two, depending on how good your aim was and how far away you are. So yeah, this is a fun level. I like the environment, and the enemies aren't too... You still have these gang member enemies that you're fighting right now, and this is something that I had read about this game before it came out, and it held true, was that different gangs or different enemies would approach combat differently. So these guys are sort of your low-level gang people, the people that you're fighting towards the beginning. They sort of use more spray and pray tactics. They'll rush you a little bit more often. It seems like they have worse aim, and they have less body protection, so they don't really wear bulletproof vests and things like that. And so body shots here are still really effective against these guys. And when you start fighting the paramilitary people towards the middle and end of the game, they play a little differently. They use cover more. They obviously have better body armor. They have better weapons, and they're more precise. And so I think that is part of what makes the ending of the game, or the second half of the game, really more challenging than this first act. So this is the closing chapter in Act 1. And if it's your first time playing through the game, then you get an achievement at the end of this chapter for finishing Act 1. And after this, you don't fight so many of these Kasha, Preto, or whatever, CS, or whatever the gang's name is called. You don't fight many of these guys anymore, and you start fighting more of the paramilitary and police, sort of crooked police forces. And so, I don't know, they're just much more precise with their aiming, and you will find that you really need to make sure that you are much more precise with your aiming. I got away with some slightly sloppy playing here towards the beginning, and it was okay because you had enough tools to get you through. You had enough painkillers, you had enough bullets to get you through these first few chapters without being super precise, except on a couple of parts. But that kind of changes after this chapter, and you want to adjust your playing and to measure up. So I was trying to shoot that yellow barrel back there, but I missed it. I was trying to shoot it then, but I think something happens and it doesn't explode, and I think it has to do with the achievement that is connected to that section right there. You have to kill 7 enemies. And there's a bunch of yellow stuff around here, and I keep hoping that one of them is going to be one of those explosive barrels that blows up, but it doesn't. So we just have to kill these guys. And you see how they sort of run at you, they don't take cover, and they sort of spray bullets all over the place and aren't very accurate. And so relish these moments, because they are kind of the last of these that you'll get, because the rest of the enemies throughout the rest of Act 2 and 3 are a little more careful than these guys. So I'm not sure what that was. It looked like it was going into the kill cam animation, but then it kind of cut back to me for a second. It was almost like I hadn't taken the shot yet. And it was anticipating me doing that, so not sure what that was about. But yeah, I think the reason that yellow barrel doesn't explode is that people were getting that achievement too easily by blowing up the barrel to kill several people. And so I think an update made it so that barrel doesn't explode, perhaps. I don't know. That's just speculation. But in any case, this is coming up to the end of this video here. And I will continue this chapter in the next video. But first, I'm gonna walk around and try to find all the stuff that I can, and then I will take you to the next section. So thanks for watching. Hope this has been helpful, and I will see you in part 2.